Welcome to Integrative Mystic. My name is Ann Vivian. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are watching this video, you might notice that I'm adding in the video format again. I used to have videos when I had a radio show in the past, so I've decided to add this component to my show so you can see my lovely guests as I have them on and see me. And if you're tuning in to the podcast, it's still going to be a great show, but just know you can check out the video format on my YouTube channel, Creative Psyche Studio, if you would like to see the visual part of the shows in this interview. I am so excited about today's show. I have a fantastic guest, Paul Rice, on the show. We're going to talk about ghost work. We're going to talk about spirit releasement. He is going to tell you about the organization that he is involved with here in New England for helping ghosts move on to the next realm. Very interesting fellow. So I can't wait to have this interview and share it with you folks. Then I'm going to pull some cards, and Paul is actually going to pull some cards for the collective energy of the week ahead. So I just want to, before we invite Paul in, I just want to invite you in, my friend. Take a deep breath. We're in the integrative mystical space where we're connected with our higher self. We're also planting our feet firmly on the earth. If you are in a position to do so, even just feel your feet on the ground. Feel your body being supported by the earth, and feel your connection with the divine consciousness, the cosmic consciousness that's running through us all. We are all integrative mystics. We're all connected in an integrative way. So, welcome to this space. I am so excited to introduce my guest, Paul Rice. Paul Rice started as a palm reader at age 17. And discovered he could feel the emotions and sensations of other people, and has pushed that as much as he can. He became a medical massage therapist and uses the ability there as well as doing ghost work. He does a variety of other energy techniques like medium work, past lives, astrology, and teaches these subjects and more. The website of the Spirit Releasement organization, which the name of it is SHONE, Spirit Helpers of New England, is ghostbegone.com. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome my guest, Paul Rice. Paul is unmuting himself and starting his video.
All right.
Great. Can you hear me, Paul? Oh, I think you're still muted, my friend. You need to just unmute yourself.
All right, try that.
Now we can hear you with your
good.
great English accent. Hi, Paul. Welcome. I just told my audience a little bit about you, and I would like to ask you. Well, first of all, how are you doing? It's the end of a very rainy January here in New England. How are things going?
Well, being British, yeah, it's just fine out for me. As long as it's not icy and snowy, I'm not used to that. But yeah, it's great.
This reminds you of home. This is kind of like Britain.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks has been so cloudy. Yeah, it has been like home.
Yeah, some people find it rather depressing. So I think that's pretty cool that you find it familiar. And I'm going to think about it that way for the rest of this rainy period, that it's like England. It's romantic and charming.
Yeah, I find Americans have struggled with it. And it's like, I'm cheerful. Why aren't you cheerful?
This is normal. This is how it's supposed to be. This is what I grew up with. Yeah. Well, what's the saying? Rain and something brings flowers and
don't know it.
I totally messed that up. If you're tuning in right now, you know what I'm talking about. It's like April showers bring May flowers or something like that. So I'm totally getting it wrong, but the showers are good for fertilizing the land.
Yes.
So I would like to ask you, Paul, if you wouldn't mind telling me and my audience, how did you get started in ghost work?
I've been doing energy work since age 17, reading palms and picking up feelings, emotions from people. And so I just pushed that as much as I could, became a massage therapist so I could really use that. And in the back of the ambulance, it told me more about it. So it came up, what was I going to do next? And somebody suggested, join a ghost group. Um, so I heard about an open house. Uh, Michael McFall was hosting it in New Haven, and it was the Greater Hartford Paranormal Society, which has since disbanded. So I went there, and he asked me, were there any volunteers? Because there was a ghost in his bedroom. So I put my hand up, and I stood beside the ghost, and then I stuck my hand out. And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Holding hands." He was like amazed, because his ability is he could just look around the room and just point, say, "There's a ghost there." And sure enough, there was a ghost there. And the other psychic, Crystal Pavis, could hear them. So I was another psychic, and I didn't know what I could do other than I could feel. I could feel the ghosts. And so he called me in for the very next time we went out. And yeah, I was one of the regulars then. We had 3 psychics. So that got me into ghost stuff.
And you started with some other people, SHONE, the Spirit Healers of New England. And tell us a little bit about, love the t-shirt. It's a great acronym. Tell us a little bit about SHONE and this organization.
After it disbanded, I missed doing it. So I thought I would teach people how to help ghosts move on. So I trained some people, and then they all wanted to practice. So we just kind of went out and practiced. And then somebody said, we should have a name. So I'm not that type of leader where I just say, oh, it's going to be this. We voted, and the vote was for Spirit Healers of New England. So you can find us on Facebook, and it's open to the public. We go out about every 2 weeks to somewhere. Hopefully it's indoors during the winter time, and we go do some ghost work. So we've hit most of the major sites in Connecticut, which is kind of naughty, because the regular ghost hunters are trying to get a creepy feeling and find ghosts and stuff like that. And that's not my job. I help them move on. So I'm getting rid of ghosts.
Yeah, so it's not about the creepy kind of titillation of,
Yes.
horror film kind of vibe. It's not that there's anything wrong with horror films, but it's really a very service-oriented, compassionate organization that you have to help spirits move on. I think that's really beautiful, Paul. And
Yeah.
I'm hearing that your evolution to create SHONE and ghostbegone.com was really a natural process of your skills as a psychic unfolding, and sensitive to energy, and that it was a natural progression that led you to be able to, you got more training, but you were just naturally learning and using your skills and learning more, and it evolved to this organization.
Yeah, it's continuing to evolve. So many of the things I've learned have been because of clients or patients. There's been a challenge, and so I've had to rise up to that level and figure it out. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. When we do the ghost stuff, I let them do the regular helping ghosts move on to the members, because what I find most enjoyable is the difficult cases, those that are damaged, and so they feel they can't move on because obviously they're not alive, but they're not in heaven. So what's happening? And they're struggling, and because basically to me a ghost is a person that no longer has a body. So you don't hunt them, you talk with them, you listen to them, and you help them figure out what to do, and then you help them move on.
I almost called you a ghost hunter, and I'm so glad I did not. I had a feeling that was a bad move. Um, I was going to ask you what your favorite part of it was, and you just answered that it's the difficult cases. Why do you like the difficult cases more, Paul?
It's partially by being a paramedic. You know, you step up to that level, and yeah, I certainly had difficult cases there. Um, at this stage, pretty much nobody else can do it because the people I've trained are capable of doing it, but they kind of shy away for some of them. Some of the women don't like to deal with a ghost that is angry, so I get called in for that. Or if they're being attacked, then they're not confident their shields are quite strong enough, so they'll ask me to do that. Or the basic psycho cases. Cedar Crest Hospital in Newington. I went there, and we had some free time because the state police had asked for victims, volunteers, to be role playing there, so that they could, when there was a perp, do their stuff while still protecting the public. So I was there with a bunch of other people, and I invited everyone there to come along. And one person, Marianne, came along. So I introduced her to the psycho ghosts there. And unfortunately, she took one of them on, and I found out 6 years later that she'd felt suicidal after that. Well, she's seen a shaman, and I've worked with her, so yeah, she's squeaky clean now. But
When
yeah,
you
it can be risky.
when you say took one of them on, you mean that it attached to her?
It went through her, and in doing so, made some changes in her, and she didn't know, and I couldn't sense it. So when she left there, yeah, she said she'd been suicidal for 6 years.
Wow. And so the spirit, as far as you two could tell, had attached to her and had manipulated some of her energy and was still attached, or was just the energy of the spirit still attached?
I'm not sure because she was out of state and I didn't stay in contact her for a while. And then it's like how it, so she met a shaman up there. And so I'm based on what she's saying. Um, yeah, there'd been something attached there and the shaman helped get rid of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that level of dangerousness that perhaps the people I've trained are not quite willing. But as a paramedic, I went in. There was
Yeah.
no question. I went in, and so my shields are really strong, and so That's why I'm confident I can go in and just you know deal with any storm that hits me. Plus, being an energy worker, you need to be able to get rid of energy. So yeah, I've been attacked and had attachments. So yeah, it takes a while to get rid of those.
So you can see why some people are hesitant to go in and try and collaborate with the spirit if it's a situation like the one you described where the spirit needs someone of a professional caliber to be able to help it, escort it, help with the process of
All of
transition
that.
there. And I think that makes a lot of sense with boundaries and psychic boundaries and protection and shields. And in my experience with spirits, and I've had a few try and come along for the ride with me and had to help escort them elsewhere. Friendly. It was never a horror movie type of a vibe. But I have had experience with that as well, and I can appreciate the importance of being able to handle these situations with care. And a spirit that is so damaged, or put better, so wounded and maybe destructive, that it's really important to use care when approaching and dealing with that spirit. So I'm sensing, I was asking you why you like the hard cases, and I'm sensing you appreciate that you can be of service in cases
Yes.
where it's maybe a little unpopular to address the ghost. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah, people say for the paramedic, EMS business, oh, I could never do that. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm one of those people that rush in, you know, when there's a need.
Yeah. So part of your personality, the paramedic personality, you're good in a crisis. You're good at dealing with people living or not living in a crisis. And it's just part of your skill set. Well, I think that speaks to, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you if you're not drawn to ghost work. It doesn't mean anything there's wrong with you if you're not drawn to becoming a paramedic. But everybody, I remember learning that when I worked for hospice, that all of us in the hospice team, the nurses and chaplains and therapists and massage therapists, all of us, for the most part, seem to have certain personality traits, a certain penchant for the transitional period between life and death, and we're very comfortable around death. And so many people are not, and so many people, they're just not wired to do that. So I think that's pretty special that you found something you have a natural inclination and natural talent for, and it's needed.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you, Paul, for my audience, how can one tell if there is a ghost, quote unquote, ghost spirit? I prefer the term spirit, but
Okay.
sometimes I use ghost. How can one tell if there's a ghost or spirit in one's home?
Well, it's a bigger question because one of the classes I teach is like I'm up to 14 different categories of what could be in the house. So limiting it to a ghost, two general categories would be, does the ghost know it's dead, or does the ghost know it is dead and it's a ghost? So if it doesn't know it's a ghost, if it doesn't know it's dead, it will tend to have the same conversation or the same issues, and it'll be looping. So this ghost will be just doing the same thing over and over and over again. It still needs to feed, but it can't put food in its mouth. So it has to take on emotional energy. So as you enter into the house, you may feel a surge of an emotion that perhaps you don't want, that it's got used to feeding off of you. So you get a strange recurrence of an emotion, an unpleasant one, and it keeps on going and nothing you can do about it. If you leave the house, you don't notice it, but if you come back in, if it happens while you're sleeping, then you're going to be dreaming the same sort of stuff as it whispers in your ear and tries to influence you to recreate the emotion that it feeds off. If the ghost knows it's dead, it's a bit smarter. They tend to wander, so you may not sense that anything creepy is there, but at a certain time of the day, it'll just wander in like smorgasbord. It'll feed a little bit and then move on to the next one. So they're a little bit more difficult because it won't always be the same time. But pretty much I'd sense you feel compelled to do something, or you experience an unpleasant emotion and there's no reason for it. I would say then that's a ghost is there. But there's something I call stuck energy, and you find this in closets. It's where if you're emoting the same emotion over and over and over again, it kind of soaks into the building. And if you
Yes.
keep on doing it, it becomes alive, it becomes aware, and then it wants to feed on what it's made of, that same emotion. So it'll come out at night and do that. So that's stuck energy. So it's very similar to a ghost, but it's not so aware.
And you might call that a thought form, or that's what I
Yes,
was
yes.
taught to call that. It's so interesting. I was listening to a really interesting podcast on Circle Sanctuary, and I can't remember the name of the priestess who was giving the talk, but she was talking about house clearing and how, and I've experienced this before, and how, you might not bring home an actual spirit from going out and about. I'm going to say pretty rare to do that. fortunately. But you might bring in just energy with you that from, your dealings with other people. And over time, that energy can collect in your home in certain spaces in your home and actually become semi-autonomous or a thought form with its own consciousness, which is similar to a ghost. She was describing that as well. And so it's really important to do house cleansings regularly. By the way, folks, spirit attachment is pretty rare in my experience, so I don't want to scare any of my listeners or viewers. And just using, the power of your intention to have a boundary and to not, nothing can possess you without a certain level of permission. Am I right, Paul?
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, they usually present themselves as, oh, this would be a good thing if you could help me out. And then we're in. Yeah.
And then attach. And, it might be unconscious that semi-unconscious or semi-conscious that you agree, but, setting your intention that I'm not agreeing to let anything else enter my body, enter my energy, and, calling on your higher power, spirit, God, goddess, source. I am, protected. I have good boundaries. So,
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
pretty rare.
Right. But if I can interrupt on that, once it's in you, it starts to twist your mind. So you can't go the nice route and think, oh, well, I have free will and I can get rid of it. They twist you away from that. So you're kind of stuck in there. So for some people, they may need some help.
Yes. So if you have a spirit attachment, then that's a different situation. What is your advice to someone to figure out if so you kind of lay down for us a helpful map for understanding, a helpful couple of tips for understanding if we do have a spirit in our home. What could be a few tips for helping someone understand if they do have a spirit attachment?
Well, I could just jump to how to get rid of it, if that would be better.
Sure.
Right. Okay. Queen Nefertiti's headdress is a technique that was described by Dr. Cynthia Andrews, and I have a book here. If I can hold it up to the screen.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Right. Okay. So.
Oh, okay.
Right. So she's written a number of books.
Energy. Yeah. Some people are listening and not seeing. So
Okay.
I'm just going to read the title of that, The Path of Energy.
By Dr. Cynthia with an S, Andrews, ND.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, and she's got the path of emotions, the path of presence. And she was one of my lecturers in terms of energy work, the massage place I went to, and Hartford Hospital as well. All right, so what you do with Queen Nefertiti's headdress, the idea is this Egyptian queen had a headdress. It was mostly white with colors at the bottom, a ring of multicolors. What I want you to do is imagine that instead this be a rainbow colored hat, kind of like a funnel. Right? And now you extend it up to heaven or as far as you can get, and now you pull energy through. But the only one that can come out is red at the bottom. And so that's for your first aura. So that fills you inside plus like an inch and a half outside. So now you are vibrating at the level of heaven's energy, and it feels like you're being shaken apart because it's so intense. So your regular old attachment just can't hold on any longer as it's all vibrating so strongly. So it starts to detach. So as you feel that there's some change, you then pull down orange and then yellow and then green and blue and purple and white. And so each of those pushes that attachment out because it can't hold on. It's too intense. And so now you've just recharged, shook up your whole aura. And then what you do is just have it vacuum up, back up to heaven. So they clean it out there. And that one technique is the best technique for getting rid of any attachments.
I love that. That makes so much sense with my experience, Paul. Whenever I've had anything approach me that was not helpful for me to, that was not helpful to be in my aura. or spirit attachments, I've gotten very strong intuitive guidance to raise my vibration and remember who I am and remember my light. And it's just impossible for an entity to be able to, like you were saying, they sort of feed off emotions, but when you're raising your vibration in such a way, they're really not, it's not an atmosphere that's friendly to, a lower vibration. And not that, a lot of these spirits, they're not evil, they're not bad people. I don't believe in evil myself, but they're wounded, they're misguided, they might be destructive, but they're on kind of a lower vibration. So that makes so much sense that the visualizations calling on the vibration, the cosmic vibrations you're bringing down, divine consciousness, and the colors with the vibrations of the colors. I love that. Is there any particular order of color as you're pulling it in that's important?
No, go with the chakra colors. So
Okay.
red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, white.
Yeah. And you learned that from this great author, Dr.
Dr. Cynthia Andrews.
Cynthia Andrews. Fantastic. So cheers to you, Cynthia. I'm gonna try that. Hopefully I won't need it ever again, but should I feel the heebie-jeebies, I will. So if you're feeling just uncomfortable, to my audience listening and watching and tuning in, if you're feeling suspicious that there's something there that is not helpful for you, try using this, or we'd love to hear from you if you try using it, what happens, or whatever other practice you have that helps you feel protected and grounded. Well, we are coming to the point in this show where we're going to tune into the energy for the week ahead. Is there anything else? Well, I definitely want you to share your website with my audience, Paul. What's the website and the Facebook page?
Okay, so ghostbegone, one word.com. That's 5.5 years of my notes on ghost work. I've been doing this for 20 years. Better, if you want to reach me, is Palmist, which is PALMYST at spcglobal.net. I'm way more likely to check on that. And if you go onto Facebook for Spirit Healers of New England, SHONE, you can just find it, and it's easy to join. So we post where we're going to meet. So it's mostly Connecticut. We did do Bridgewater in Massachusetts a couple of months ago, and we're going to go back there because there were like 15 different sites on this one area. So we're going to go there. So that's coming up. But that's it.
Fantastic. And do you have any advice for my audience tuning in if they do suspect that there is a spirit in their home? What steps to take? An unwanted, so let's say an unwanted spirit, not grandmother is visiting me and it feels great and I feel so loving and loved, but an unwanted spirit.
Okay. Well, at their level, if they smudge, that works for them. It doesn't work for me because all it does is push a ghost somewhere else. But for me, that doesn't work. I need to move them up. It's the wrong sort of thing just to push the problem off to somebody else. So smudging works just nicely. Ask your guides, ask your angels, pray, all of that works as well. I have a whole bunch of techniques to help them. My favorite one is I take them up myself. So, I carry them up, but you have to know how to get to heaven. And they don't keep you up there.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we transition?
No, I did your cards. Yeah, because you were talking about, what is it? Medium type stuff. And you got Chiron, Earth, and House 6. Chiron is the wounded healer. So there's a lot of that in me and the people I deal with. So I'm just wondering if you have that there. It's where you help other people because it's the right thing to do. Earth, I'm such an airhead. So it's telling me, you would keep me grounded, or you're way down to earth, more practical, and house 6 is to be of service. So that's my
Yeah, well,
reading.
this has been, I feel like you've offered a big service to, those listening with all this information. I definitely feel the Chiron archetype that is working through me. So most healers, right? We have wounds so that we learn how to heal them and then offer that,
Yes.
that wisdom and empathy to our clients and those we work with. And yeah, well, I mean, I feel like this was a both grounding but expansive conversation, and there was a lot of practical ghost work that we explored. It was fantastic. So I thank you so much for sharing that with me and my audience. And yeah, and I encourage anyone who has questions, reach out to Paul, visit the website ghostbegone.com. He's a wealth of information, and has been doing this for a really long time. So speaking of service, you provided a lot of service and helped humans on the earth, and humans discarnate humans as well. So let's shift gears. We are tuning in to the energy for the week of February 6th. I know we're recording this a little bit before this podcast is going to be released, Paul. So speeding ahead to February 6th, that's the day after the full moon in Aquarius, I believe, in Leo, excuse me, the full moon in Leo. So we're going to tune into the energy. I'm going to pull some cards. Paul's going to pull some cards. I just like to sort of pose the question, what do we need to know from spirit, from divine consciousness and angels and guides for the week ahead? So Paul, yeah, you look like you have something to share.
No, I did some cards for that week, but
Okay.
I don't understand it, because I figured you were going to read your cards. And
So what I'm getting when I tune in, first of all, this is something I've been feeling for a few months now. I think this is a collective energy that's been maybe a little bit more long-term, but it feels like the collapsing of structures and the resurrecting of new structures. I feel that for this week. I pulled the 8 of Pentacles, the 7 of Pentacles, and the Ace of Swords for this week. I feel like for this week, get ready, things are happening. It is the week, right after the full moon, but it feels like things are moving forward. I feel like it's a week of prosperity and material unfoldment. And it's important to be intentional this week, though. I feel like not to get too unconscious with our actions, but to be intentional with our actions. 7 of Pentacles asked us to use some reflection about our decisions and our plans. Also an abundance card. So this could be a really good week for prosperity and finances. An Ace of Swords. So, as things fall, things are collapsing, things are being rebuilt, new energies are arising. I feel like this week, it's a good week to strengthen adversity, if there is any adversity, to move forward and tune into your faith and your confidence in spirit. And it might be a week where perseverance really pays off. That's what I'm getting so far.
okay, I got all houses. I got 7, 10, and 9. So the first part would be others are important, significant to you. So your focus is outside of you. And then it's about house 10, which is your status in the world. So that brings you back to, what impact are you having? And then house 9 would be to get out and travel, explore. learn something. So that's what I got for that week.
Beautiful. I pulled a Starseed Oracle card, the Courageous Peony, multifaceted, unique nature, let yourself be seen. So it's interesting. It's sort of an internal and also external energy that you're picking up on, relationships and going within, and then, career and travel, sort of pushing the energy out. And here we have a card about, multifaceted energy. I know I was kind of sensing that too, that it's, it's an energy that involves both inward and outward kind of movement. So yeah, so get out and travel, put yourself out there, and also, tend your relationships and inner life as well, and do some reflection. I'll pull one more card. Karmic relationships. So we've got some relationship energy here. Orion energy, polarity, soul growth, conflict. Yeah, so there's some polarity maybe this week. And then what are you sensing about relationships, if anything, this week, Paul?
I tend to hibernate in the winter. So those cards are saying, get out, get out and socialize and do stuff. So relationships, I'm a single guy,
So yeah, for this week, push yourself out there, let yourself be seen, put some energy in relationships, and go with the flow with cosmic changes that are happening, and take a step back and go within as well and assess. Beautiful. Well, Paul, thank you again so much for joining me for this interview. I had a blast. And please, if you're tuning in, check out ghostbegone.com. The SHONE Spirit Healers of New England is a fantastic organization, and you can check them out on Facebook as well. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a beautiful week, my friends, and I will see you next show. Take care.
Thank you, Anne. That was great.
Thank you, Paul. Bye.
Bye.